Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, April 7th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. We have quite a bit to get to today. Trump threatens to end Iranian civilization. Let me get to the good news, maybe good news up front. There's a 2-week ceasefire proposal by Trump. Appears Iran has accepted. It appears aardvarks have accepted. Do we trust aardvarks with ceasefires? No, we don't, because they have consistently violated the ceasefire with Lebanon. They've consistently violated the ceasefire with Palestine. I mean, it's like almost 800 dead Palestinians since that ceasefire. Do we trust aardvarks? U.S. bombed a synagogue in Iran. Does it get more antiseptic than that? But they did it. Call me skeptical. I'm not jumping up and down about this ceasefire that Trump has proposed after threatening to blow up the world. We'll cover all that. I hope they do. I hope they do have a ceasefire, stop killing people. I just don't trust the lying aardvarks. I don't trust their own government, or Iran for that matter. But on top of it all, I don't trust the lying, criminal, genocidal aardvarks. Then I don't trust Iran. Then I don't trust our government. So 2 weeks is a long time. Aardvarks are bloodthirsty maniacs. It's looking like our Secretary of War and President Trump are bloodthirsty maniacs as well. We're going to cover all these details for you today. Oil, all-time record high price. Meanwhile, they're building out a domestic police state. We'll cover that. FBI building out pre-crime units here for bad Americans that don't support tyranny. F you guys, man. Like, seriously, at this point, F you, man. You're the traitors. You're the tyrants. You're the bad ones. We got more Epstein news. We're going to report Epstein every freaking day until this broadcast goes off the air. That's what we're up against. We got NASA telling us that, well, that's the thumbnail to today's show, is the alleged first image from the dark side of the moon. I don't believe any of it. I don't believe anything these lying criminal scumbags say at this point. We'll show you all that. Apparently, large majority of America believes it. I don't know. They're broadcasting it everywhere. We got more economic news. Yeah, all-time record high oil prices. Allegedly, they're going to open the Strait of Hormuz for 2 weeks. We got other geopolitical news and a bunch more war news. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Hey, guys out there in the audience, I do appreciate the listeners. I went and got my mail today from the office, and shout out to Mac. I got all of your pamphlets, very, very well made, very nice. I appreciate it, Mac. I read a couple. I'll read some on the air here when the news hopefully dies down, where we're not in apocalyptic scenarios every other day, the Armageddon every other day. Who knows if that'll ever happen? hopefully we can find some time to go through some of Mac's work that he sent me, a bunch of booklets. I read through a little bit. Thank you, Mac. I know it's from your heart. It touches my heart. I truly do appreciate it. So thank you, Mac, for that. And then I got some snail mail from Pamela, and I did get your your note here. So I truly do appreciate it. And I did get the funds as well. I truly, truly do appreciate it. You guys, I love you guys. I love you guys. And it touches my heart to know that somebody out there, with all the crazy stuff we talk about on this show, right? We're talking about the end of the world, satanic pedophiles are eating babies and all that. I realize this is insane, right? And so for you guys sticking with me and listening to all this insanity, you have a special place in my heart, and I truly do appreciate all of the Weaponized News subscribers, the patrons to the store, people even sending snail mail. Pamela and Mac, you guys touch a place in my heart. I truly do appreciate it. I love you guys out there in the audience. So thank you very much for that. All right, let's take a look here. Let's do this day in history. We've got a lot of news to get to today. Thankfully, we're not blowing up the world until we are. Missiles are flying right now. So as we speak, missiles are flying all over West Asia, the Middle East. So we'll see how this sorts out. It's good, though, they're at least talking about ceasefire. But again, Aardvark's word on ceasefire is 0 for Dan Bongino, who can't figure out how to make a 0. It's 0. So we trust what they say, 0. Because proof by their actions, they've already violated the ceasefire in Lebanon and the ceasefire in Palestine. So as long as we're tied to the hip with these aardvarks, forget about it. Forget about it. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully it does play out. We can all have peace. Something tells me that's not going to happen because, again, we have genocidal, bloodthirsty aardvarks leading the charge here. And they want to bring about the end times, the end of the world, Armageddon. And radicals from Iran want to do the same thing. And radicals from America want to do the same thing. So that's where we're at. All those factions are still in place. Okay, let's get to this day in history, and we'll get to all this news for you today. We go all the way back to the year 30. Scholars estimate, and this is mainstream history that I read you on this day in history, right? So it's like accepted. I have questions about a lot of this stuff, but this is the official mainstream. So on this day in the year 30, scholars estimate for the crucifixion of Jesus Christ by Roman troops in Jerusalem on about April 3rd. See how they snuck that in? But the crucifixion of Jesus by Roman troops. But again, it's so it's tiresome at this point. Pontius Pilate washed his hands and said, "It's on you, people." And the Pharisees are in the background directing the whole thing. I don't even want to go into it anymore deeper than that. But I think we know what happened. Aardvarks killed Jesus. Sorry to report to you here now. On this day in 451, Attila the Hun plunders Metz in northeastern France. On this day in 1509, France declares war on Venice. Who could blame them? On this day in 1541, Spanish missionary Francis Xavier leaves Lisbon for Portugal East Indies as the first Jesuit missionary, spreading the good word of the Jesuits there, I see. On this day in 1541, 1712, on this day, we saw a slave revolt in New York City. Just after midnight, 9 slave owners are killed and 6 wounded by a group of about 24 slaves attempting to lead a revolt. At least 21 enslaved blacks were executed, and another half dozen committed suicide, as the story goes. Slave revolt in New York City on this day, 1712. 1795, on this day, France adopts the metric system, basic measurement of length. 1805, on this day, Lewis and Clark expedition leaves Fort Madan on the Missouri River near what is now Washburn, North Dakota, beginning the journey to the Pacific Ocean. 1827, on this day, English chemist John Walker sells the world's first friction matches. 4 ones, 2s, 6 new pence per 100 matches in a tin case with a piece of sandpaper. 1827, matches sold for the first time. 1891, Nebraska introduces 8-hour workday. 1902, on this day, Texas Oil Company forms, known as Texaco. 1922, on this day, the Teapot Dome scandal. Warren G. Harding, Interior Secretary Albert B. Fall leases the T-Dome oil reserves to Harry Sinclair, setting in motion the T-Dome scandals. On this day in 1927, we saw the first long-distance television transmission, an image of Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover is sent from Washington, D.C. to New York City by AT&T. 1933, everybody's favorite year, I'm sure. On this day in 1933, we saw, well, we're celebrating today, I guess, National Beer Day. Colin-Harris Act comes into effect, legalizing the sale of low alcohol beer. I think we need some higher alcohol for put up with this dystopia here, right? But that's the plan, obviously, to push you to the point of drinking with all this insanity going on. 1933, University Bridge. That's a growing theme too. We're going to see in the news today a lot of bridges being blown up. But on this day in 1933, University Bridge in Seattle, Washington opens for traffic. I'm sure. And the excuse, why do we have to blow up all these bridges in Iran? Well, they use it for military transport. Well, the same could be said about anything. You know what I mean? It's the same aardvark routine. On this day in 1948, we saw the World Health Organization is formed by the United Nations, and they continue to save us from the bats out there. On this day in 1959, Oklahoma ends prohibition after 51 years. On this day in 1968, we had a few events. The first one, gangsters Henry Hill and Tommy DeSimone commit the Air France robbery, stealing $420,000 from cargo terminal at New York City's JFK International Airport. Also in 1968, on this date, we saw riots continue in over 100 U.S. cities following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And troops were deployed to confront rioters in 1968. 1969, on this day, the Internet's symbolic birth date, publication of RFC1. 1978, on this day, Gutenberg Bible sells for $2 million in New York City. That was a lot of freaking money in 1978. 1990, on this day, we saw John Poindexter, U.S. National Security Advisor, found guilty of 5 counts of lying to Congress and obstruction regarding the Iran-Contra scandal. How far we've come. How far we have come. 1994, on this day, the Rwandan genocide. Beginning of the Rwandan genocide, the Presidential Guard begins killing moderate politicians and public figures. And the genocide escalated from there. 2003, on this day, U.S. troops capture Baghdad. Saddam Hussein's regime falls 2 days later. On this day in 2017, oh, and by the way, we're killing Iraqis today. So what has changed? A lot of good overthrowing Saddam Hussein's regime did. We're still killing Iraqis today in 2026. That was 2003. On this day in 2017, then President Donald Trump orders a missile strike on Syrian airfield after chemical weapons attack. Turns out all of that was fake, but who cares? That should let you know where Trump was, what Trump, I remember it very well because I was like, breaking my heart here. Trump, you said you're the anti-war candidate and you're bombing Syria. None of our business. But yeah, Trump made it our business, didn't he? Should have been a big red flag for everybody in 2017 after that action by Trump. 2019, on this day, Rwanda marks 25 years and the beginning of 100 days of mourning since the genocide that killed an estimated 800,000 people in Rwanda. On this day in 2020, just 6 short years ago, China ends its lockdown of Wuhan, the city at the center of the bat problems. After 76 days, as the country reports no new deaths for the first time. Wasn't that good? Isn't that good of China? And on this day in 2025, just 1 year ago, Asia Pacific stock markets have their biggest falls in a decade after Trump announced tariffs between 10 and 46%. On this day in our civil liberties history, 1942, what do we do with the Japanese American evacuees? At a conference in Salt Lake City, Utah, on this day, officials of the War Reclamation Authority, or Relocation Authority, and the governors and other officials of 9 Western and Mountain states debated what to do with Japanese Americans who were being forcibly evacuated from the West Coast. FDR Executive Order 9066 on February 19, 1942, mentioned only evacuation and said nothing about what would happen to the evacuees. State officials strongly objected to having evacuees in their states. As a result, the decision was made to create a network of relocation centers, which have been more properly characterized as concentration camps. Couldn't happen in America. It already did, and they're building it back up again. And we got those reports for you today. Here's our segue to the news. It don't matter who you vote for, the government, you get war, death, destruction, tyranny. Here's Kamala. It don't make no difference. There ain't no deep state. There ain't no shadow government. There ain't no secret plan. It's the government. They're corrupt and evil. I don't know how much more plainly I can say it. Here's Kamala, flashback to Kamala saying, I will always stand with Aardvark land right to exist, and will always ensure Aardvark land has the ability to defend itself. There was no choice. There is no choice. You vote for the government, and this is what you get.
I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Bibi funded Hamas. Western intelligence created Hamas. Bibi created Hamas. It's come out.
Including unspeakable sexual violence and the massacre of young people.
That's what they do to Palestinian prisoners. They're set to execute in short order here now.
People at a music festival. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past...
Aardvark stood down. It's been documented. We said it on the day it happened because they were all over the internet saying that. Aardvark intelligence, that is. But more lies from these bastards calling themselves our government.
The last 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking.
They genocided over 70,000 Palestinians officially since then. It's more, who knows even what the number, it's probably in the hundreds of thousands. That's the official number that the IDF has acknowledged.
President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
They're whacking Palestinians today. Maybe that's the only thing that she said different. I doubt it. There is no choice. Here's dystopia out of the White House. They posted this today. So some more dystopia. Truly disgusting. Worshipping the giant penis here. There you go. There you go. Dark occultist. Evil, evil. This is a picture of evil. Sadly, the majority out there don't have eyes to see and don't even understand what this symbology means. They're mocking us, you see. They sent J.D. Vance, Mr. Technocracy, over to Hungary How's this not foreign interference in Hungarian elections? It's beyond me. But hell, they're saying be a good right winger. So I guess that gives them a pass.
But we feel confident that we can get a response, whether it's positive or negative. We're going to get a response from the Iranians by 8 o'clock tonight. I hope they make the right response, because what we really want is we want a world where oil and gas is flowing freely, where people can afford to heat their homes and cool their homes, where people can afford to transport themselves to work. That's not going to happen if the Iranians are engaged in acts of economic terrorism. So they've got to know we've got tools in our toolkit that we so far haven't decided to use. The President of the United States can decide to use them, and he will decide to use them if the Iranians don't change.
A backhanded nuke threat. Are nukes even real? I don't believe it that they can do what they say. I believe they can blow a lot of stuff up. But the whole thermonuclear war, all this, it would have happened already because these people are crazy. There's more from Vance. Just the Orwellian doublespeak out of both sides of their mouth is very dystopic, to say the least. So you got Vice President America, Vance, in Hungary, telling them, we want you to make a decision about your future with no outside forces pressuring you. The vice president, I mean, I'm surprised he didn't go out there with a gun and point it and say, vote for who we want, or we're going to shoot you, because that's essentially what he's doing with backhanded threats of nuclear bombing.
For a simple reason, because I admire what you are fighting for. You're fighting for your freedom, you're fighting for your sovereignty, and I am here because President Trump and I wish for your success, and we are fighting right here with you. We want no more and we ask no more than to be allies against those who seek to push Hungary down. And you have drawn the attention of the American people, really people all across the world, because Hungary has been on the front lines of such foes. In 2016, when the rest of Europe threw open its gates, you said no. When strange activists came to tell you to erase your heritage, you said no. And when a war erupted in your neighborhood, you were kind and generous. You opened your neighborhoods, your homes, and your hospitals. But you never forgot the needs of your own people and why to Hungary, Hungarians must always come first. And for all these reasons, the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, and the American people, we admire you. And we want you to make a decision about your future with no outside forces pressuring you or telling you what to do. I'm not telling you.
I'm not telling you to vote for Orban, but if you don't, then we're going to shoot you in the face. That's like read between the lines. What is this from CENTCOM? The White House reposted this. They say U.S. Central Command, last night, U.S. forces launched one-way attack drones into Iran during Operation Epstein Fury. CENTCOM made history a month ago when it began using low-cost aerial attack drones in combat for the first time. What an accomplishment. Today, hundreds of U.S. drones are fully integrated into offensive and defensive operations against Iran. These platforms operate in the air, at the sea, under the sea, and on the ground in support of our military objectives. That's Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of CENTCOM. Some of these reports are old. Well, here's the one that got everybody all worked up, which was it was designed to do, right? And everybody calling for the 25th Amendment on Trump. Let's read the post here. This was earlier today, this morning. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. And so that's like implied he's going to drop a nuke if such things are real. Here's the psychopaths in Aardvark land on their television with a countdown. They want it to happen. They're out of their minds.
בשולחן, דדליין, סופר, לאחור.
אולי מופלטות בחדר הדיונים של המשא ומתן יזרזו קצת את העניינים.
וואי, זה יהיה סמך לבב אנוש, ברור.
ואתם רואים כאן את ליאור ורוצלבסקי שחזר.
Well, sad for them. It looks like it'd be delayed, but I don't believe Aardvarks are going to honor the ceasefire, so I believe it will continue. I hope I'm wrong. So back and forth today, there was, we're going to talk, we're not going to talk, between U.S. and Iran. It was back and forth. Pakistan Prime Minister requests Trump to extend the deadline for 2 weeks and for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz for 2 weeks as a gesture of goodwill. Iran's got nukes too, allegedly. So does Aardvark land. Doesn't Iran have nukes too? Kind of feels like they do, if it's even a thing. Iran closes all diplomatic and indirect channels of communication. That was Reuters earlier today. Iran is winning the propaganda war. They're slapping these stickers on the side of missiles in memory of Malcolm X. Of course, he was a Islamist, right? And then this is a pretty good one too, in memory of Tupac. I think we showed this one. This is a couple days old. But in memory of Tupac, kill Illuminati. So they're definitely winning the propaganda war. MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, calls for the 25th Amendment on Trump based on his "A whole civilization will die tonight" post on his Truth Social. She says, 25th Amendment, not a single bomb has dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. Reminder, this happened in June of 2025. Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated, and suggesting otherwise are fake news. That's from the White House. So you're lying then, you're lying now, you're always lying. The government's lying to us on a consistent basis. You can bet on that. They're liars about everything. What does the Catholic Church have to say about this? Pope Leo sharply condemns threats against Iran, calling them totally unacceptable after Trump warned that a whole civilization will die tonight. The Pope framed the situation as not just a legal issue, but a moral question for the good of the world's people, and urged citizens to push their leaders toward peace, stressing that people want peace. We heard all yesterday, we heard for the last 2 weeks from American propaganda, the Iranian people love being bombed. Maybe the Pope missed those propaganda messages. Here's Tucker. Again, I would take everything that Tucker Carlson has to say with a grain of salt. But let's listen to his commentary as he's fully turned on Trump here now in the stage play of American politics and media that we're to believe is our reality. Let's take a listen to some harsh criticism from Tucker Carlson accusing Trump of rejecting Christianity. Yeah, he's a high-ranking dark occultist.
Certainly the leaders of the American Christian churches, by and large, said absolutely nothing. And maybe because they said nothing, this accelerated. These are the same people who sort of didn't notice somehow that on Inauguration Day, the president did not take his oath of office with his hand on the Bible. His wife stood next to him holding it. I was about 15 feet away and saw it, but he did not put his hand on the Bible. And that should have been maybe a clue that we need to pause and think about, what is this? Why wouldn't you put your hand on the Bible? If you don't believe in the Bible, you think it's just a book, there's no cost to you to putting your hand on it, just kind of following the protocol, going along with the tradition. All presidents do it. Why aren't you doing it? And you're not doing it intentionally. You're choosing not to put your hand on the Bible when you take that oath. That suggests not that you don't believe it's real, because if you didn't believe it was real, why would you care? You'd put on the costume and take it.
Let me give Tucker a clue here, because the Jesus of Nazareth is not his God. That's why he didn't put. And here's the image right here. Here's the image Tucker's talking about. And you see the first time around, 2017, he did. Now this is a post by William Ramsey. He says, no hand on Bible. The women are clothed in odd neo-fascist attire. That's true in 2025. Look, there it is. Extremely bizarre behavior out of this Trump family and Trump himself. Arizona Congressman Yasmin Ansari has announced she is planning on filing impeachment articles against U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, accusing him of enabling U.S. strikes on Iranian civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and water distillation plants. Yeah. Here she is. If we were all human, then your politics wouldn't matter. But we know that these people in the government they don't act like human. I don't know what they are. Possessed by an evil spirit in their heart, I suppose. Maybe they really are lizard people, but they certainly don't act human.
What we have seen out of the Trump administration over this weekend has been absolutely horrifying and gut-wrenching. The threats against Iranian civilian infrastructure and the entire country of Iran are unreal and apocalyptic. Today, Donald Trump said, quote, the entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. That was his quote. Iran is a country of 90 million people. Threatening them with annihilation is a monstrous war crime and puts them and American service members and Americans at grave risk. It also only serves the interests of the Islamic Republic regime, further entrenching their power, providing them with a convenient boogeyman while punishing the civilian population. As a chief enabler of this illegal war, Pete Hegseth is responsible for directing this insane military action against Iran, which has already killed thousands of civilians, led to the unnecessary deaths of American service members, and displaced over 1 million people in the region. That's why I'm introducing articles of impeachment against Hegseth for repeatedly violating his oath of office and the Constitution, including the disregard of Congress and willful targeting of civilian infrastructure in Iran, like water desalination plants, like hospitals, like schools and bridges. As the top official in the Department of War, Pete Hegseth has the duty to comply with the laws, lead by example for other military officials, and uphold his commitment to the Constitution above all else. He has done none of that. Instead, he has trampled on the most fundamental principles upon which the United States was founded upon, including the separation of powers, congressional oversight, and respect for the rule of law. That's why I'm calling for Pete Hegseth's impeachment and removal from office immediately.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong, but she's a Democrat. So we're going to play the whole Republican-Democrat game with this. Let's get to the meat here. There's New York Times put out a couple big stories today. The failing New York Times, according to Trump, but they keep putting out stories that he doesn't like. According to the failing New York Times, Netanyahu, how do we get into this war in the beginning? How did it all start? The war, how Trump was sold on Iran by Netanyahu, i.e. the shadow president of America. According to the New York Times, Netanyahu presented Trump with a near certain victory plan: destroy Iran's missile program in weeks, prevent retaliation, including closing the Strait of Hormuz, and triggered regime collapse. The pitch included a video of potential replacement leaders. That one guy, Pahlavi, whatever, the puppet guy that says he's the Shah's son or whatever, claims protests would restart and could be fueled by covert support, i.e. a color revolution that already failed once, possibility of Kurdish fighters opening a second front. We sent a bunch of guns over there to the Kurds, allegedly. We don't know who got the guns. Kurds will probably turn the guns on America now. And again, in another 3, 4, 5 years, hey, there's a bunch of terrorists over there that got a bunch of guns threatening people. We got to go do something. Well, those are all American weapons now, aren't they? And so the same routine can continue. Aardvark Land Intelligence suggested Iran would be too weakened to respond effectively, and U.S. interests would face minimal risk. Trump was convinced. Sounds good to me, he said, according to this New York Times. More from this story. Trump was presented with a bold, quick plan to strike Iran. Trump liked it immediately, but U.S. intelligence pushed back hard. Military strikes equal doable. Regime change equals farcical. Advisors warned Aardvark Land was overselling the idea, but Trump brushed off concerns. Regime change, that's their problem. He focused on killing leadership, plus crushing Iran's military, believing it would be fast and decisive. Trump asked each advisor for input. Vance, bad idea, but I'll support you. Rubio, only support if goal equals military, not regime change. Military outlined risks, but didn't oppose. Legal advisors said it was permissible. Political team warned of backlash, but deferred. No one firmly blocked the decision. And here we are. And here's that story out of the failing New York Times, according to Trump. Continuing here, we're going to get the good news. Some good news. Trump put this out about an hour ago before we came on the air. As the deadline for the annihilation of Iran approached, Trump put this out. Based on conversations with Prime Minister and Field Marshal out of Pakistan, Sharif and Manure, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definite agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America, as president, and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Something tells me aardvarks are going to break the ceasefire. Here's the trolls out of Iran. They got a lot of troll accounts. They say the Iran consulates and embassy accounts. They say Iran will never surrender. Out of their Hyderabad Iran consulate X account. And so here's the official reply from Iran. Iran's foreign minister, Argachai, states that if attacks on Iran stop, its armed forces will halt their operations, signaling conditional acceptance of de-escalation. Here's the official statement. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, he, Prime Minister of Pakistan, Sharif, and he, Field Marshal Manure, for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region in response to the brotherly request of the PM of Pakistan in his tweet, and considering the request by the U.S. for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by Trump about acceptance of the general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiations, I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations for a period of 2 weeks. Safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. And allegedly, aardvarks are on board with the ceasefire. Again, aardvarks are always, they're the problem. They're the ones that drug us into this war. to start with. So allegedly, they're going to go along with a 2-week ceasefire. That's what's being reported. Call me skeptical. I don't trust aardvarks at all. Because, again, we have a recent history of them violating the ceasefire with Lebanon and violating the ceasefire with Palestine as two of our most recent examples of lying criminal genocidal aardvark actions. Some more good news. American that was abducted, Shelly Kittleson. She was abducted by, now they're saying, it's an Iraqi militia group, and they're saying that she will be released, according to a report out of Reuters. So that's good news. Shelly Kittleson, watch yourself. So hopefully that American can be released. Okay, on to the domestic police state here at home. They're building it out, pre-crime units. The FBI is building out pre-crime units. We'll start with this one. Jason Bassler, Free Thought Project post, and I saw it posted other places. The FBI's new pre-crime center is hunting Americans who oppose MAGA. Trump's NSPM7 request would give the FBI its largest counterterrorism budget in years to target domestic extremists for virtually any non-MAGA belief. Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the U.S. government, extremists on migration, extremists on race, extremists on gender, hostility toward those who hold traditional American values on family, hostility toward those who hold traditional American values on religion, and hostility toward those who hold traditional views on morality. Bottom line, if you think anything other than MAGA, the FBI might be keeping tabs on you. Nothing says make America great like thought policing, right? And here it is out of the budget. So F you MAGA, F you government, and F you FBI. How you like them apples? You're packed criminals. You're the domestic terrorists. You're the criminals. So go turn yourselves in to the immigrant detention FEMA camps that you built all over the place. Because you are the criminals. You're the anti-Americans. Here's a report from Destiny Resendez. We had her on the show once. Try to get her back on. She's in high demand, popular on the X. Let's watch this report from her about this domestic police state they're rolling out. She says, watch this right now. Remember Detachment 201, where 4 top tech executives were drafted into the Army Reserve as lieutenant colonels. They're out of Palantir, OpenAI, Thinking Labs, and Meta. They just announced they'll be leading the newly created Pentagon's Strategic Capabilities Office, SCO's Cognitive Warfare Initiative. The stated goal of this office is to disrupt the cognition and the thinking ability of an adversary or person of influence. They so far have stated that these sinister tactics won't be utilized against the domestic population. It is my belief that it absolutely will be used against Americans, and we are paying for them to do it. Let's watch this report. Hell yeah, they're going to use it on Americans. And flashback to OpenAI. If you remember this, turns out if you remember old Aaron Schwartz, pretty sure they whacked this dude, right? Aaron Schwartz, hacktivist and Reddit co-owner, was classmates with Sam Altman back in 2005. Before his passing, he warned friends, you need to understand that Sam can never be trusted. he is a sociopath. He would do anything. He was later alleged to have committed suicide. I believe he was murdered. And so to give you a little, and OpenAI, ChatGPT, data center freak shows, Sam Altman. Well, pre-crime cognitive warfare against the American people. Here's that report.
6th, 2026, the Pentagon's Strategic Capabilities Office, known as the SCO, quietly announced one of the most significant cognitive warfare programs in American military history. It's called BIAL, Basic Information Awareness Operations. And it changes the rules of the battlefield, not through bullets or bombs, but through belief. The Strategic Capabilities Office sits inside the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Its mandate is to deliver breakthrough capabilities to warfighters, typically within 3 to 5 years. The man behind BIAL is Sam Gray, SCO's Chief Technology Officer and lead for its autonomy and artificial intelligence portfolio. Speaking at the National Defense Industrial Association's Pacific Operational Science and Technology Conference in Honolulu, Gray laid out the mission in plain terms. Quote, "The goal of cognitive warfare is to disrupt the cognition and the thinking ability of an adversary or person and influence how they perceive, sense-make, and act." This is not propaganda in the old sense. This is something fundamentally different. For most of military history, influence operations required a physical observable. In World War II, the Allies inflated fake tanks to fool German reconnaissance. You needed something the enemy could see. Gray said that era is over. Quote, "I don't actually need the physical observable, because I can generate both the physical observable and the associated narrative that comes along with it. And I can promulgate it across the digital environment that allows it to go everywhere."
BIAO is built on 3 technological pillars. Pillar 1, detection. Systems designed to identify adversary-generated materials to see what the enemy is pushing into the information space before it takes hold. Pillar 2, multimodal effects. AI models capable of generating text, video, and audio. Synthetic content designed to shape how target populations perceive events in real time. Pillar 3, population modeling. A large-scale simulation environment that can model entire populations and produce quantitative metrics, answering the question Sam Gray himself asked, "How good am I doing with this narrative? Did it resonate like we thought it was going to?" The technology architecture Gray described is deliberately lean and distributed. Quote, "Give me 100 Mac Minis with 100 different agents on them that are out running and operating, that are lightweight, small, do not require gigawatts of power. This is not a massive, fragile supercomputer. This is a swarm." But there's a problem Gray openly acknowledged. The off-the-shelf AI systems we all use, ChatGPT, Gemini, do not think like Russia. They do not think like China. They were trained on American data, shaped by American assumptions. Gray said directly, we have to get to a point where we can understand what it is that they think about and what we can create from a model perspective to emulate and behave like our adversary does. BIAO's goal is to build bespoke AI models specifically tuned to adversary cognitive frameworks.
Why is this urgent? Gray pointed to 2 ongoing adversary campaigns as evidence the United States is already behind. First, Iran's information operations during Operation Epic Fury. Second, China's large-scale efforts to, in Gray's words, change the way that certain populations are thinking. And then Gray stated plainly, the United States is not currently positioned to counter these operations at machine speed. Quote, we need to start to get into that space. Congress didn't wait. The 2026 National Defense Authorization Act directed the Secretary of Defense to formally define cognitive warfare for the department, assign organizational responsibility, and assess the value of narrative intelligence, with a deadline of March 31st, 2026. BIAO does not operate in isolation. In 2025, the U.S. Army created Detachment 201, the Executive Innovation Corps, commissioning 4 senior Silicon Valley technology executives directly into the Army Reserve at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Those 4 officers, Andrew Bosworth, Chief Technology Officer of Meta, Kevin Weil, Chief Product Officer of OpenAI, Shyam Sankar, Chief Technology Officer of Palantir, and Bob McGrew, former Chief Research Officer of OpenAI. These are not advisors. They wear the uniform. They serve within the chain of command.
Together, BIAO's technology stack and Detachment 201's Silicon Valley expertise represent a deliberate convergence of artificial intelligence, influence operations, and military command structure. NATO's own chief scientist framed the stakes this way. Cognitive warfare targets trust networks, identity narratives, and institutional legitimacy. The battle space is continuous. It operates below the threshold of armed conflict, and the measure of success is not a message received. It's a durable change in how a population thinks, decides, and acts. The human mind is now a contested domain. As of April 2026, the Basic Information Awareness Operations Program is active. Performers are being on-ramped. Models are being built. Simulations are running. And Sam Gray made one thing clear about the vendors chosen to build this system. Those who don't keep up will be cut. Quote, I will off-ramp you. The battle for cognition has begun. Whether you believe this program is an essential shield against adversary manipulation, or a capability that raises profound questions about who defines the adversary and where those tools can be aimed, one fact is not in dispute. This is real. It is funded. It is operational. And you are now aware.
There you go. They're building out the domestic police state for you and I. Under the guise of keeping us safe from the bad guys. 2 more reports. We'll take the commercial break. You're like, but ICE is still shooting people, right? You're like, because that was so much fun when they shot those Americans. Yeah. Over here in California, I shot another person today. So we're not getting mass deportations, but we are getting shootings. Earlier today, ICE officers were conducting a targeted vehicle stop in Patterson, California to arrest Carlos Mendoza Hernandez on 18th Street, a gang member wanted in El Salvador for questioning in connection to a murder. As officers approached the car, the wanted gang member weaponized his vehicle. That's a continuing theme we see out of Department of Homeland Security. Weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to run over an officer. We've heard this story before. Following their training, our officers fired defensive shots to protect themselves and their fellow agents, and of course, keeping the public safe. The illegal alien was taken to the local hospital. Well, at least it wasn't an American, but hey, ICE is still out there shooting people. So at least we got that going as they build the domestic police state. And we don't have mass deportations, but they are here and there still shooting people. So at least we have that going for us. All right, friends. At the top of the hour, we just went through an hour of news. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. And again, thank you to friends out there for the snail mail. Pamela, I got it and I appreciate it. And thank you very much. And Mac, I got your pamphlets as well. Here's one just to show you proof that I did indeed get it. There's a pamphlet from Mac. Very, very well put together, I must say. And so I do appreciate it, Mac. Thank you very much. And it is heart-touching to me. So thank you, guys. And I did get some donations, too. Thank you for the donations, the subscriptions to Weaponized News. Thank you very much. For all those people out there, go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself some stickers with a holograph sticker, the white background sticker. And yeah, I realize this one is old. You'll get a brand new one. This is the demo model of the clear background sticker. We got 3 stickers available, Weaponized News stickers. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat, your Cybertruck. Some of the places has been spotted out there in the wild. weaponizednews.com/shop. We have t-shirts, baseball caps, coffee mugs, all kind of gear over there. Go take a look. weaponizednews.com/shop. Your patronage to the store is much appreciated. You can become a paid subscriber on Weaponized News Substack. Even though I put the links to almost everything we talk about on Weaponized News Substack for documentation and your further research purposes. So if there's something we talk about, you want to go down that rabbit hole from a show, all the links are there for free. For free. By the way, I got kicked off Rockfin for not charging, for not putting up a paywall, because I believe this information is so important that it needs to be free. And we need more researchers out there exposing this stuff. So, but you can show your appreciation for my efforts by becoming a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. Give us a donation, buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App, all in the link in the description below this video. Become a patron at weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself some stickers, a bunch of other gear there. Go take a look. Any which way you choose to support this broadcast is truly appreciated from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much, listeners and viewers out there. And with that, let's get back to the news. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News. Apparently, the end of the world we've got a 2-week ceasefire, allegedly. So that's good news on this April 7th, 2026 edition of Weaponized News. Thank you for joining us. Again, I think aardvarks are going to violate this ceasefire. I hope they don't. Somebody's going to violate it in 2 weeks. And what's up with the 2 weeks? It's always 2 weeks to flatten the curve, 2 weeks to flatten Iran, 2 weeks until the domestic police state round us up. Like the 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right? We'll see. I'm hoping for peace. Last I checked, missiles are still flying as peace negotiations or ceasefire negotiations are going on here now. So we'll see how this sorts out. And come on. Aardvark land, go do a false flag, blame it on Iran. There you go. Iran broke the ceasefire. It's time to freaking bomb the hell out of them, right? I mean, we've seen this story already. We'll get to more of that in our geopolitical section. Now on to our science section of the show. Daily Mail reports mystery surrounds death of ninth scientist tied to U.S. secrets and disturbing pattern grows. Yeah, there's something going on here. I believe it was 9 last week. Reported 8 according to the Daily Mail, but Zero Hedge was reporting 9 last week. I'm glad Daily Mail finally caught up, but here it is. These scientists tied up with NASA, wouldn't you know? And JPL, right? And all of these esoteric occult organizations, these scientists have either, well, you can see they're either dead or missing. Dead, missing. They're all linked up to, you can see here, the U.S. military, NASA, JPL, right? So something's going on. Something's going on here. Ninth scientist now. Another scientist with ties to America's space program has now joined the growing list of deaths and disappearances around the U.S. Michael David Hicks, a research scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, passed away. They go through a bunch of them. I thought we would have, who's the newest guy? A bunch of them. The infographic right here pretty much lays it out how they're tied together. Something's going on with these scientists, as we're now up to 9 dead or missing scientists linked up with NASA and the U.S. military. So what do we make of Artemis? They tell us, well, here's the pictures. I don't believe anything they say, so call me skeptical. Here's allegedly the thumbnail for the show. This is the first photo from the far side of the moon, NASA tells us. Here it is. Believe this is real? I don't. Sorry. I don't believe that's real, but that's what NASA says. Here's a totally beyond Earth from lunar orbit. The moon eclipses the sun, revealing a view few in human history have ever witnessed. And so that's from NASA. And they allege this is in space on their mission. And of course, that's the moon in front of the sun. Allegedly. And they say they made it 252,756 miles from Earth is what they're alleging on this mission there. And I wanted to show you this video. Not really the video, but just it's a video, but here's a still image. America 250, that's your corporate government. Forget these flags. That don't mean jack. This is running America 250. As we continue to expose here, who's your corporate government are the sponsors of America 250. So notice how they threw that in there. Any videos even worth showing? And I guess we'll play this. This is from, and these are not satellites. Allegedly, this is the guy's real ears, the head of NASA. Here, what's the name? Isaac Mann. Let's watch this clip about the mission.
Now you can see some of the spectacular images the crew have captured here on our screens. There we go. Now, this is the first time humans have documented some parts of the far side of the moon. Now, these images will be publicly available on NASA's website, our digital platforms, and the White House actually released the now iconic EarthSat photo from earlier today. Now, these are the first of many incredible images of the moon, and we'll continue to release them as they become available. My understanding from just a few minutes ago is that they captured over 175 gigabytes of imagery from the lunar pass alone just yesterday. And the images that you are seeing right now have been transmitted back to Earth predominantly through optical communication, which is pretty cool stuff. Now, before I turn the call over to Dr. Lori Glaze, I wanted to share some of the other things that we are doing at NASA while the Artemis II crew are underway on this historic mission. So the crew on the International Space Station are hard at work. They're undertaking the science and tech demos, many of which have directly supported the Artemis program missions and will continue to do so. The Exploration Ground System personnel, if you want a quick Kennedy Space Center update here, have been out at the launch pad. The crawler, my understanding, is approaching the outer gate, and we expect ML1 to be back in the vehicle assembly building within approximately a week. Now, this would cut down on the turnaround time that we observed from Artemis 1, measured in months right now, several months. On the science front, my understanding is the Blue Origin Mark I lunar lander is wrapping up here at the Johnson Space Center in Chamber A. Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope testing is progressing, so much so that we feel reasonably confident we're going to announce a target launch date this year sometime in the next 2 weeks. In aeronautics, we've been flying the X-59 almost daily while the Artemis II mission has been underway. So we work to rebuild our X-plane portfolio. The first senior level Artemis III mission design discussion today. Teams are working with vendors on moon base RFIs and RFPs, and we are advancing the Skyfall scientific payload for the first interplanetary nuclear-powered spacecraft, SR-1 Freedom. I think the most important point we're trying to make here is we can launch history-making missions like Artemis II, start making meaningful progress towards Artemis III, and do all the other important programs the world's been waiting for from NASA. And with that,
Yeah, call me skeptical. I don't believe a word these characters say. But that's what they're alleging. That is what they're alleging on this Artemis mission. Okay, on to we're at the economic section of the show. Yeah, we're on the economic section of the show here now. But first, a report from Aaron Day here now, and it all does tie together. Aaron Day posted, they've been building this network for 70 years. What started in 1950s Ohio with one Republican kingmaker has become the most sophisticated political capture operation in American history. Max Fisher advised every president from Truman to Clinton, built his fortune in Ohio, founded the Mega Group with Les Wexner. In the 1980s, Wexner gives Jeffrey Epstein full power of attorney over his billion-dollar empire. A billionaire doesn't hand over everything unless there's leverage. Robert Maxwell sells backdoored Promise software to U.S. agencies in the 1980s. His daughter didn't just inherit money, they inherit the operation. Peter Thiel funds both J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy. Vance sits on Innovative Ohio's board. Ramaswamy runs for Ohio governor. Same network, new faces. Curtis Yarvin preaches technocratic monarchy while Palantir builds the surveillance tools. The ideology matches the infrastructure. Intelligence networks don't retire, they rebrand and recruit the next generation. And here's an infographic about it showing you the linkage there from Max Fisher to Ramaswamy right there on the historical timeline. Russia and China veto UN Security Council resolution on reopening the Strait of Hormuz, the United Nations Security Council failed to adopt a Bahrainian-backed draft resolution against Iran calling for the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz after Russia and China exercised their veto power. The draft had, quote, watered down to remove explicit language regarding the use of military force, had been watered down. The war against Iran is costing about $500 million per day, totaling roughly between $22 and $31 billion for the first 5 weeks so far. Around $2 to $3.6 billion of that is from destroyed or damaged military equipment, according to a report out of the Financial Times. Thankfully, we have the Trump pro peace ticket in the White House. They're telling us this. Again, taxation theft. The government had to steal the money from you before it could give it back to you. $3,500 average tax cut the American taxpayer will receive this year. Again, mocking us. Physical oil prices hit record highs near $150 a barrel as Strait of Hormuz crisis worsens. Report earlier today from Reuters. The price of Brent crude oil just hit an all-time high of $144.46 a barrel. MAGA shop closes down after sales dip, with owner blaming Trump's Iran war. So there you go. The ongoing Iran war, dropping an expletive-ridden Truth Social saying praise to Allah, and firing both Noam and Bondi have set tsunami waves through the U.S. political sphere. This store was in Chicago. The Trump Truth Store sits in Crystal Lake, Chicago, one of the more conservative suburbs of the Midwest city. And so now they're going out of business because nobody wants to buy this propaganda of bullshit MAGA Trump gear anymore, because he's a lying fraud, war criminal now, and a big Epsteiner as well. So the MAGA shop closes, a sign of the times that we're in. U.S. national debt, reminder for everybody. That thing's ticking away by the second. We'll be reporting $40 trillion in national debt before you know it. Before you know it. Let's take a look at AAA's national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline here in America. We're now up to $4.14, and you can see that right there. And it's $6 everywhere I'm at. $5.99, $6. I was looking at signs driving to the office this morning, and yeah, it's about at that average for California. What I saw, you can find it lower some places, higher others, obviously, but there we are in California, $5.93, pushing $6 a gallon. And I did see $6 a gallon at many stations earlier this morning here in California. Let's hear a word now from Mr. Tinkerbell, Lindsey Graham, about the Strait of Hormuz.
As to the Strait of Hormuz, right now they're charging ships, the IRGC, the Iranians, to go through the straits, and they're taking the yuan, not the dollar. One threat of this whole debacle is if we start allowing the Chinese currency to be traded in oil, that will hurt the dollar. In 1974, every barrel of oil sold and traded in the world is traded in dollars. Now, what are the Iranians trying to do? They're trying to change the currency from a dollar to a Chinese yuan, and that's an attack on the dollar. And that needs to end, too. So I'm very optimistic that President Trump's going to bring this regime to an end one way or the other. I prefer diplomacy. But this time tomorrow night, they're either going to do a deal that makes sense for the world and the region and for Iran itself, or we're going to blow them up.
He prefers diplomacy as potentially phasing out of the petrodollar as part of this. And we started the war. We killed their supreme leader. So, yeah. Interim acting attorney general here, Todd Blanche, covering up Epstein, continuing here now as this is not the win that the MAGAs think it is. Let's play this clip of Epstein cover-up artist Todd Blanche as the DOJ right now as I speak violating the Epstein Files Transparency Act, breaking the law, and now they're coming after fraud when they are in and of itself a fraud.
Every day, Department of Justice investigators and prosecutors work to punish those who commit fraud. For example, just this week, and it's only Tuesday, a criminal defendant was sentenced and the department obtained 2 additional guilty pleas in matters totaling over $500 million in healthcare and COVID fraud. If you think about that, just since yesterday, we had a guilty plea in a $160 million healthcare enrollment.
But the problem is the entire system is a fraud. So,
enrollment fraud scheme and a sentencing in a $100 million COVID-19 fraud and a guilty plea in a $160 million healthcare fraud scheme as well. Each of these cases represents countless hours of dedication from the prosecutors and the federal agents and local law enforcement who work them. The Department of Justice is holding criminals accountable for stealing over $500 million from taxpayers.
They're covering up the Epstein files.
And across our U.S. attorney's offices, all over this country, we currently have over 8,000 fraud matters underway. Unfortunately, as you've heard a lot about recently, because it's true, these cases represent a fraction of the fraud ripping off our country every day. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump.
I can't take it anymore. Okay, learn how our monetary system works. Fiat debt-based monetary system. It and of itself is a fraud. You see? And so for them to put on the show, we're taking care of the fraud. Well, you're a fraud, Todd Blanche, covering up the Epstein files continually. Let's watch this clip. It mentions our Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. Probably the luckiest man in the world. No, he had inside information is how he's doing all this.
Thousands of Israelis were reported to have been at the World Trade Center that day. 4,000 Israelis believed to have been in the area of the World Trade Center and the Pentagon at the time of the attack. Of those 4,000 people who were supposedly there, only 3 or 4 died. How did they avoid harm? There was an instant messaging service called Odysee, an Israeli instant messaging service that sent out a warning 2 hours before 9/11 happened, warning people not to go to the World Trade Center that day because there would be a catastrophe there. But it was sent out in Hebrew.
The head of Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick, just happened to be out of the office that day that the terrorists struck. Mr. Lutnick was taking his son to his first day of kindergarten.
Where were you on September 11th? I was home. And
whether Israel was conducting espionage on U.S. soil.
This is a case that took the FBI and the CIA more than 2 months to sort out, while 5 Israelis waited in jail. It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed 3 men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices. The offices of Urban Moving were simply abandoned. Almost everything was left behind.
I guess if you're on the Aardvark messaging app, you're cool. If not, you got problems. The Epstein class has openly admitted they've been deliberately attempting to crash Iran's economy. Yeah, we reported that. They've weaponized the dollar, tried to ship lots of guns to armed protesters, and sent undercover agent provocateurs to foment a bloody civil war, i.e. color revolution, i.e. regime change, i.e. Western intelligence provocation on the ground in Iran, killed all their leaders and negotiators, started the war by bombing Iran first, including a school with 168 children, i.e. ritualistic blood sacrifice to kick this whole thing off, to serve their god, Baal, are threatening to commit unprecedented war crimes against a civilian population of 92 million people, are jeopardizing the stability of the entire global economy. Their advisors plus our Secretary of State believe this will somehow help usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. And here is Bitchute admitting to the weaponization of the dollar being used against Iran.
The Treasury, and what we have done is created a dollar shortage in the country. At a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March, I outlined a strategy. It came to a swift and I would say grand culmination in December, when one of the largest banks in Iran went under. There was a run of the bank. The central bank had to print money. The Iranian currency went into free fall. Inflation exploded. And hence we have seen the Iranian people out on the street. We will continue monitoring all the partners, all the Iranian partners. The good news, Senator, is that we have seen, and we can see it with our fencing.
So there you go. We hit them with an economic bomb, the weaponization of the dollar, before we hit them with actual physical explosives. Here's a little video about Trump maybe having nightmares if he had a soul. I'm seriously questioning if he does have a soul. Yeah, he has children's blood on his hands and has for a very long time. Ukrainian president, dictator, Zelensky's listed as a child trafficker in the Epstein files.
Pre-war, the Ukrainian government is one of the worst in the world. Corrupt,
controlled by a few rich people. I mean, really unfortunate for the people in Ukraine. Ukraine has better agricultural land than the United States does. I mean, it is the breadbasket of Europe. It's an incredible location.
And this whole thing with Melania rescuing Ukrainian children from Russia, that's extremely sketchy. Epstein files contain financial documents proving that Epstein funded the IDF, Friends of the IDF there. He also funded the largest settlement body in Palestine, the JNF. Right here, you can see there. Friends of IDF. Funding Palestinian genocide from Epstein. Here's a flashback from John McAfee. Remember John McAfee? He tricked a bunch of them, sent them, he donated laptops. Here he is talking about it. And what did he learn about with the donated laptops to many secretaries within the government with this preloaded spyware on it? Well, he learned that the Minister of National Defense there in Belize was the largest drug trafficker in Central America, and the Minister of Immigration is the largest human trafficker. Let's hear that clip from McAfee.
Went on the run in Belize. I had friends in the U.S. Embassy in Belize. I knew what was coming down. I'm not stupid. I had arranged with the head of security. I was going to come in. He said, "Sir, we have it from the highest authority. We are not to allow you entry into the U.S. Embassy." Understand me. Who was the highest authority of the State Department? Hillary Clinton. I'm an American citizen with a American passport. I'm sorry. I'm not wanted in America. I've got no crimes in America. Is it not a reason to say, I don't think I'm going to vote for you?
And yet you're here now.
For a month and a half, I was on the run. The reason that the government wanted to collect me was that after they had raided my property in 2012 in the jungle, shot my dog, abused me, destroyed $500,000 worth of my property over a bogus charge, I was pissed off. And so I donated to many secretaries within the government laptop computers, really nice ones that were preloaded with viral spyware. Within a week, the entire government computer system was under my control. I was watching, monitoring, listening. I was looking for information that they had set me up for that raid. I didn't find that. I did find out that the Minister of National Defense was the largest drug trafficker in all of Central America. And the Minister of Immigration, the largest human trafficker.
We don't want to get killed by them either, so we're probably not going to.
We don't want to get killed by them either. It's been announced today that Bill Gates, our former doctor, during the bat time that we had to drop because he's cheated on his wife, sex harassed and abused his employees, and is best friends with Epstein. Bill Gates will appear before the House Oversight Committee on June 10th. It's been announced today. And it's also been announced, I didn't see a date. I'm sure there is one, but I didn't dig through it. They've also subpoenaed Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary and family vacation man on Epstein Island, and alleged, MK Ultra mind controller with the masks and the dentist chair and all that routine that we've showed you here. But Howard Lutnick is also set to testify to the House Oversight Committee regarding Epstein. So we look forward to that as the Department of Justice is going very hard on fraud, but very soft on Epstein co-conspirators, actually covering up for Epstein co-conspirators and doxing victims. That's your Department of Justice, America. On to geopolitical news. Kind of funny, that old international banker, Mark Carney, he now says Canada expects all parties in the Iran conflict to respect international law. But you told us, where was it, at Davos? One of these meetings, I lost track. I think it was at Davos. One of these globalist, internationalist meetings. He said that, international law is basically a joke, is what he had said. But now he says that this means no targeting civilians or civilian infrastructure. It's here from banker Mark Carney, the head of Canada now.
Good morning, Carly Thomas with CBC News. This morning, President Trump posted on Iran saying, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." What's your message to Trump, and do you believe this rhetoric?
The first is that Canada expects all parties in this conflict, in any conflict, to respect international laws, the rules of engagement, and that means not targeting certainly civilians or civilian infrastructure. And we urge all parties in this war to follow those responsibilities.
Sure, bud. Rules-based international order, dead. And the theme is attacking bridges. Are they building out the greater North America? Certainly appears so. This came out yesterday. Was this an attack on the Panama Canal? I don't know. And honestly, I didn't have time today to do further research into this, but this happened yesterday. Panama Canal on fire, bridge over it. There you go. I'm sure it's fine. So that's kind of a theme, blowing up bridges, lighting them on fire. As we're building a new world order, we got to get rid of the old to bring in the new. That may or may not be part of this conspiracy, probably is. Ukrainian forces used British-made Molly T-150 drone to destroy a Russian-controlled bridge. Take a look at this video. So we're blowing up a lot of bridges lately here now. No audio on this clip. But there's the targeting of that bridge. As Russia and Ukraine war rages on, as they target each other's energy infrastructure, targeting bridges and civilian infrastructure as well. But I'm sure Russia was using that bridge to transport military equipment, i.e. aardvark excuse, so it's perfectly reasonable to blow up that bridge, right? World turns to Russia for energy supplies as war on Iran sparks global energy crisis. So back to our schizophrenic foreign policy in the country. We're in a proxy war with Russia via Ukraine, but our actions now, our attack on Iran, has caused Middle East energy infrastructure to be blown up. And so that hands a bunch of demand for energy to Russia. But I thought we're fighting a proxy war against Russia. Why would we do this? Because our foreign policy is schizophrenic. So Now we're backhandedly fueling the Russian war machine. China backs Iran from the shadows while publicly claiming neutrality, shaping regional dynamics without saying a word. Let's hear this short clip. And remember the Economist cover, right? They had a Sun Tzu quote, "Don't interrupt your enemy while they're destroying themselves," something like that. What was the, let me find the exact, I think I saved that. Did I save that? Yeah, here it is. Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Remember this? Remember this. What was this, like a week ago? Remember this? Yeah. Let's watch this short clip about China in the shadows.
There's definitely like many people within the Chinese government system that has a very close relationship with the Iranian government and facilitating all of those things, like facilitating trade, facilitating investment, facilitating exporting equipment to Iran, whether there's civilian equipment that can be used for military use. We don't know the details, but that's what I guess. And also, if you look at how precise Iranian missiles are performing recently, it's very clear that they're either using the Russian satellite system or the Chinese satellite system, or both of them. There's definitely some sort of actually quite close cooperation as we talk about. What I meant in the previous point is that within the Chinese society and government, there is still this idea of keeping relationship with Iran, and that they want to see Iran not only surviving, but some sort of being able to challenge US hegemony in the region. At the same time, they don't want to make any sort of open diplomatic stance over the issue of Iran, and they do not want their support for Iran to be publicized. If you ask any Chinese foreign ministry spokesman, they would tell you we're not that much involved. Same stance they do about the Russian military operation in Ukraine. So they don't want to say anything publicly, that they do not want to get too much involved into the situation, while they want to help in more secret ways.
Yeah, we're in a bunch of Cold Wars with China, trade war, space race, resources race, resources Cold War, proxy war via Iran now, via Russia with China. All that's going on in the background. Here is U.S. Ambassador Mike Walls at the UN, got harshly booed after touting Trump's peacemaking. What peace? War criminals.
War, chaos, violence, and more unsafe world comes to mind. But if we're being honest, that's also the world that we're living in now, with the UN. So my friends across the street worry that with President Trump's peacemaking,
so their Orwellian propaganda is falling flat now. Shocking, I know. India has issued an advisory for its nationals still residing in Iran to stay where they are for the next 48 hours and avoid all electric military installations and upper floors of multi-story buildings. Here's the advisory out of the Indian embassy. There. Firms in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, extend work from home advisories. Some Western and Saudi companies in Riyadh have extended work from home advisories this week, according to a report out of Reuters. The advisories issued individually by companies via email or text yesterday and today. Applied to offices in the financial district, Business Gate. They go through a bunch of these different areas there in Saudi Arabia where workers are advised to work from home. These areas house offices of major U.S. banks, technology firms such as Microsoft, Apple, as well as Saudi organizations, including the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia. Employees were initially instructed to work remotely at the start of last week, according to Reuters. UK evacuates military personnel from operations in Iraq and cancels upcoming deployments to the country, according to a report of iPaper, due to the Iran war. Here's Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio.
The whole world's been impacted, unfortunately, because Iran is violating every law known by striking commercial vessels in the Straits of Hormuz.
Isn't it hilarious? Iran's the only one breaking the law. No, you're all breaking the law here now, aren't you?
It's a big problem for the world. I mean, this is a regime that doesn't believe in laws, rules, or anything like that. It's a state sponsor of terrorism. So,
isn't that exactly what America's doing right now?
It's not surprising that they're now conducting terrorist activity against commercial vessels.
Here's an idea. All these governments, Iran, Aardvark, America, you're all bad. They're all extremely bad, horrible criminals, criminal people. They're murderers. They're Epsteiners. They're the worst of the worst of the worst. That is the governments of these countries. And Joe Blow citizens suffer because of this. Here's old Bibi, shadow president of America. We do have translation from the language here into English in subtitles, so you can read what he's actually saying.
אני כל הזמן אומר לכם שאנחנו קודשים את משטר הטרור באיראן, אבל אנחנו עושים זאת ביתר שאת ובעוצמה הולכת וגוברת. אתמול הטייסים שלנו השמידו מטוסי תובלה ועשרות מסוקים בבסיס של חיל האוויר של איראן. היום הם תקפו את מסילות הברזל והקשרים שמשמשים את משמרות המהפכה. הם משתמשים בהם להעביר חומר גלם לנשק, כלי נשק, ואת הפעילים שתוקפים אותנו, את ארצות הברית וגם את מדינות האזור, ואותם פעילים שגם מדכאים את העם האיראני. וזו הנקודה המרכזית. הפעולות הללו, שאני אישרתי יחד עם שר הביטחון, אינן נועדו לתקוף את העם האיראני. להפך.
Same old excuse. The terrorists are hiding underneath the school. They're using the road. They're underneath the hospital. So we have to blow the whole thing up, you see, because terrorists are using that some kind of way. Same routine we hear out of Bibi. Trump says it would be totally illegal for Iran to use civilians as human shields around power plants. They're not allowed to do that, according to NBC. They did do that. Here's a video of students form a human chain on Iran's historic Desful Bridge following U.S. Aardvark land threats to target Iran's vital civilian infrastructure. And there's a bunch of these clips. They got them lined up around a bunch of different infrastructures, around energy sites, railways, bridges. Here's one clip of the human chain guarding the civilian infrastructure. Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and there's a bunch of videos, images, a bunch of human chains formed around civilian infrastructure there in Iran. Here is probably the most antiseptic thing of the war. U.S. aardvark land airstrike destroys synagogue in Tehran. So, seriously? Where's all your skeptics out there screaming about this? Apparently they love it. Here's a short clip of that.
ساختمون کنیسه یهودیان ساختمون خودشونو دارن.
There you go. They leveled the place. Synagogue in Iran. Iran has the second largest aardvark community in West Asia, and it is the biggest threat to aardvark land, they claim. So they whacked one of their synagogues in Tehran. Isn't that like the worst of the worst of the worst? We're supposed to denounce it and say you're antiseptics and blah, 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 the whole routine. Yeah, falls on deaf ears now. Here's another bridge. Where's this one? This is in Tehran. So imagine this. You're Joe Blow driving home from work or whatever, going to the grocery store, whatever. You're out driving, and this happens. Here they are, bombing a civilian bridge. Yeah, but, you know, I'm sure whoever's in that car on that bridge, they were terrorists, right? I mean, yeah, they're using that somehow, some way to be part of the terrorism. Here is Aardvark Land Channel 13 anchor exposes how the country's core systems are collapsing due to Netanyahu's claims of long-term planning. Despite Netanyahu's claims of long-term planning, the education system is non-existent. Teachers have no intention of resuming classes. The healthcare system is scaling back treatments. Not even a budgetary directive has been issued to incentivize doctors to provide remote care. 80% of air travel from Aardvark Land is suspended. The light rail system in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are not operating because they're getting bombed by Iran for real. But hey, should praise the most corrupt man in Aardvark Land, Shadow President of America, Bibi Netanyahu.
ערב טוב, ראש הממשלה התגאה שהוא הורה על תכנון המלחמה הזאת כבר לפני יותר מחצי שנה. הנה הדרך בה המערכות הקריטיות של המדינה מתפקדות. מערכת החינוך לא קיימת, המורים כמובן לא מתכוונים להחזיר יום לימודים. מערכת הבריאות מצמצמת טיפולים, אפילו לא ניתנה הנחיה תקציבית שמאפשרת לתמרץ רופאים לטפל מרחוק. אסדת גז אחת מושבתת, אסדה שנייה רק עכשיו חזרה לעבוד, התעופה האווירית מישראל 80% מושבתת, הרכבות הקלות בתל אביב ובירושלים לא עובדות, הרכבות הרגילות בתפקוד חלקי. עולם התרבות מת, עולם הספורט 3/4 מת, מתווה הפיצוי לעסקים עוד לא עבר חקיקה ראשית, הכסף יגיע במקרה הטוב במאי. כמה משרדי הממשלה החשובים עדיין לא מאוישים בשרים, והכסף למיגון הצפון לא עבר. ג'חון בי.
So I guess that's antiseptic too, to say Bibi's collapsing Aardvark Land. Maybe it's all by design. All by design there. So imagine that, the most corrupt man in the world, Netanyahu, even too corrupt for aardvarks, which is saying something. There you go. So even aardvarks are suffering now because of this big time, big time, big time. U.S. aardvark land strikes reported on Iran's Arc aluminum plant and Fajar petrochemical complex in Mashhad, Iran. Here's a photo off in the distance, a big explosion going on there, attacking Iran's industrial base. Iraqis stormed the Kuwaiti embassy in Basra and ripped down Kuwaiti flags after projectiles fired from the direction of Kuwait hit houses in Basra today, killing civilians. So, yeah. You blame them? You blame them. But hey, at least we get to keep killing Iraqis, right? What are we, on this day, Saddam regime fell, or 3 days later, whatever it was, right? So, but we're still over there killing Iraqis in Iraq. The never-ending war of terror. Iran's Media Operations Center issues a warning to residents. Everybody's issuing warnings on the back of Trump's warning, right? And they're saying, yeah, everybody watch out. Residents, travelers, anyone planning to pass through key bridges and routes in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, stating that the following areas will be designated closed military zones starting at 2300 hours Tehran time until further notice. The land route between Riyadh and Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, the King Fayed Causeway linking Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, and the Zayed Bridge in Abu Dhabi. Individuals are urged to leave these areas immediately. Ongoing, right? Sirens, explosions heard in Bahrain, Qatar, UAE earlier today. Aardvark Land has declared a naval exclusion zone along Lebanon's southern coast. Take a look at this. Ordering all vessels in the area to move north of the Tari area. So they're not good of them. We now own this. They're annexing all this. They're like, oh, we'll annex the ocean too. We own all this now. So I guess if you're in here, Aardvarks will whack you. We'll whack you up here, down there, everywhere. But anyway, that's the warning the Aardvarks put out to naval vessels in that zone. Aardvark Land admits over 400 soldiers injured since the start of the war with Lebanon. All sides are stacking bodies. It's quite horrific. It needs to end. What do we got here? A little bit breakdown of the injury numbers out of Aardvark Land. Aardvark Land military announced in a statement yesterday over 400 soldiers had been wounded since the start of the war with Iran and Lebanon, including 27 who are in serious condition, 60 moderate condition, and 324 minor cases, for a total of 411 injuries being reported officially since the beginning of the Iran war. Yeah, it's probably a lot worse than that. They're underreporting casualties and injuries on all sides here now. Again, can't trust any of these governments. Lebanese Ministry of Health reports that since March 2nd, 1,530 people have been killed and 4,812 injured. That's Lebanese killed and injured since the beginning, well, since March 2nd. That's a few days after whacking Iran, right? So ethnic cleansing, bordering on genocide now, definitely ethnic cleansing. We're edging up to genocide of the Lebanese people now by Aardvark land. Did they ever meet anybody they didn't want to genocide? Should actually be the question here now. And I believe the answer is no. Iran warns U.S. Aardvark land attacks on local power infrastructure could plunge region into darkness. A senior Iranian official warned that any U.S. attack on Iran's power infrastructure could plunge the region into darkness. Speaking to Reuters, the source said Tehran will not negotiate under pressure and would only show flexibility if Washington reciprocates. That was a report from earlier today. Obviously, we moved on to the 2 weeks to flatten Iran. They're still whacking Palestinians. The genocide is continuing despite a ceasefire. That's why their ceasefire from Aardvarks don't mean jack. 2 Palestinians shot and killed by Aardvark forces in Abu Sharqa Junction, west of Jabalia in northern Gaza. They're stacking Palestinian bodies every day. The genocide continues. There is no ceasefire as we continue to report to you. Here now. Kanye West, Ye is banned from entering UK to perform at Wireless Festival. Quoting Sky News, I don't know who they're quoting here. They say, quote, as his presence would not be conducive to the public good. Turns out they wound up canceling the whole festival. Here's Board of Deputies of British Aardvarks. I have a sneaking suspicion they have a hand in sitting on top of all this, you see, as we continue to report. Keep your eye on the UK, Big Brother. They said, we welcome the government listening to our concerns of aardvarks in UK and preventing Kanye West from entering the country. It is deeply regrettable that Wireless Festival invited him in the first place and then doubled down when the aardvark community and our allies objected. Wireless has now been canceled, but it should never have reached this point. The situation could and should have been resolved much earlier. Phil, Deputies of British Aardvarks. There you go. And so that festival has been canceled. Wireless, as a result of the Home Office banning Ye from entering the UK, Wireless Festival has been forced to cancel. All ticket holders will receive an automatic full refund. There you go. Let's see if we got what's the latest and greatest. That's all the reporting I got for you. Hopefully we get the 2-day ceasefire. The latest and greatest from Iran International here. Trump announces 2-week ceasefire with Iran, conditional on Strait of Hormuz reopening. Iran includes enrichment in Farsi ceasefire plan. Trump administration to insist on zero enrichment with Iran. Australia backs diplomatic efforts to reopen Strait of Hormuz. According to CNN, Iran's supreme leader orders all military units to cease fire. We got a ceasefire until aardvarks break it, which is probably happening like right about now. We'll see. We shall see. As of now, As of now, there's a ceasefire in the Iran war. As of now. How long it lasts, anybody's guess. 2 weeks to flatten Iran? We shall see. We shall see. I screwed up on the old Odysee here and clicked the button one too many times. Let's see if I can find, and I lost the live stream. I still don't see the live stream. I don't even know if we're live streaming on Odysee. Odysee did some changes, and I don't even know if we're live streaming there. We may not be. Apologies to those on Odysee if we're not, but I don't even see it on my channel. And there were some changes on Odysee, so sorry. I can't even see your comments right now. It doesn't even look like we're live streaming on there. I set it up, but again, some updates on Odysee. So honestly, I don't know if we are on there, but if we're on Odysee, shout out to the listeners there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry I couldn't see your comments today. If we're not live streaming, I will upload it to Odysee. Well, there we go. Speak of the devil. It just jumped in there. That's crazy. Look at this. See, I couldn't see this 5 seconds ago until I was talking about it, and it jumped, and it literally popped on my screen while I'm talking about it. Live stream in progress there on the Odysee. So I can go until I was talking about it, and it jumped, and it literally popped on my screen while now I'm getting feedback. There we go. Okay. So you guys, thank you for tuning in on Odysee. Now I can see your comments. Deep, John, Danger. Let's see what you guys got to say here today. I doubt Iran will take the bait a third time. This rumor is for the stock market. Trump's grifting. When Trump converted to aardvarkism in 2017, maybe that's why. Quattarlson. Quattarlson, yeah. John says Carlson has appeared with the red string on his left wrist, identifying him as a Kabbalist like Trump. Maybe. I've seen those reports. That may very well be true, John. And they're just playing this game, right? Because you gotta. They're playing the dialectic game on us, right? The good guys, bad guys. There's no good guys in this game. Our government is pure evil. They're all government agents, one way or another. Danger says, yeah, I wouldn't trust Zog either because I don't. Yeah. Plus, I'm sure Aardvark land isn't going to stop for 2 weeks. Those are my same thoughts, Danger. We're on the same page about that. As per recent history of ceasefires, I mean, it's the best evidence we have to go on, and all evidence points toward 2 weeks to flatten Iran. Let's see here. John said black is the color of Saturn, which is worshipped by many aardvarks. That is what the black box on their head signifies, indeed. And that freaking looks like electrical tape, right? The black tape they wrap around, and the whole routine. We played the rituals and gone over it here for sure. There's Saturn worshippers, the black box. Russia has almost lost half capacity of their oil from Ukraine drone attacks. Danger says, yeah. Everywhere in energy infrastructure, except for America, we're stealing oil everywhere, but somehow our oil prices, gas prices are through the friggin' roof. Explain that one. Because Rockefeller oligarchs are price gouging us. Yep, I've heard over 30% of oil production is down in key areas. All over the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine. Huffman, Bibi said it's not Aardvark land's war. Did he say that? I didn't see that one. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt if he did say that. What? Us? What are you talking about? We're just getting a terrorist. Not our war. They're probably making lists of antiseptic folks like myself. Indeed. Well, we ran through the list. Are you anti-American? You're like, no, here's my constitution. They're like, well, you're a damn terrorist now. So there you go. MAGA, wave your American flag and worship the all-seeing eye on the back of this dollar bill, right? Let's see here. Let's see, Huffman. Yeah, I reckon they are making lists of viewers on certain shows. There's no way they'd let War Strike be uploaded to YouTube in past. That is bona fide. John says the aardvark stated they will not open the strait with their navy or participate in an invasion. I saw that. They won't participate in an invasion. They're cowards. They're dropping their weapons and running away from Hezbollah after invading their country for the fourth time. No, the AI is programmed by aardvarks and Sabagoys to reflect their biases to socially engineer the masses. Remember when Gronk called Hitler the greatest European statesman of all time? The machine was reprogrammed and renamed. Yeah, I do remember that. That little glitch in their system, in their technocracy. Danger says, yeah, that was hilarious. And I think DeepSeek, made by China, might be free of their influence. But even if it is, it has its own issues. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, John. John said, yeah, you got kicked off Rockfin, but you made me a loyal fan of Weaponized News. Well, thank you, John. Honestly, the only reason I was on Rockfin because I was banned every place else for bats, right? And I was like, I got to find some place to talk about bats. Well, Rockfin's doing a thing, so there's live stream there. You know what I mean? And Odysee too, honestly. At that time, I was not looking for alternatives. I wasn't doing a daily show. I was doing reports here and there saying, hey, they're talking about bats out of China. Sounds pretty, maybe you should pay attention to this. You know what I mean? At the very beginning of it, I remember the first report I did about the bats was about a Daily Mail report. I want to say around December, maybe January, before the whole thing really kicked off, right? And I was like, and it went viral on YouTube. It had like 40,000 views or something, the old YouTube. And I was like, this seems, maybe we should be like, seems concerning what's going on about the bats. They're talking about end of the world bat time. You know what I mean? I was like, so anyway, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, John, for following Weaponized News from Rockfin over there. We appreciate you. Does the black guy need a tanning? Maybe. Yeah, I was working on his vitamin D there, staring at the sun. Trump said there were no casualties in this effed up commando mission. Iranian TV showed bodies and destroyed helicopter. We showed the wreckage, and I couldn't confirm it. You know what I mean? I saw that too. I saw they were showing here's a guy that were saying is American hostage. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. But the official story says no. We saved them, just like a Hollywood movie, Black Hawk Down. Pick your other BS, military war propaganda movie. Black Hawk Down comes to mind. Well, thank you, John. Says, I congratulate you for showing a clip of Chris Bolin. I went and saw him in person, actually. And at that time, I wasn't as aware, let's just put it, I wasn't as aware of aardvarks as I am now. But yeah, I met him in person, and he was talking about, at that time, I got like 2 of his books about it. I met him in person, and saw his presentation about it. A lot of information you don't hear about aardvark's involvement in 9/11 for sure, 100%. So I would definitely check out Chris Boland's work. And he was talking about, when I met him in person and talked to him, right? He was talking about they're attacking him, they're attacking his family. I believe then he was in Chicago. I forget even all the attacks, harassment, all just for his reporting and his books, his writing and research about aardvark land involvement in 9/11. I don't even know if that guy's still around, but yeah. And now, in light of what I know, it's lining right up. It's lining right up to be looking pretty damn accurate. Let's see. We should all remember that aardvark land was a Rothschild project. The city of London is the source of that vile artificial country. Indeed. Big Brother and the Rothschild Bank, right? So, City of London. Indeed. It's not of God. It's of the devil, the City of London. Indeed. Danger. You are, let's see. That's where the LNG is. Let's see. All good here. Trump is Habat to the bone. Yep. He's in an apocalyptic death cult, right? So there you go. As many are. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in on the Odysee. Thank you for tuning in on X, Twitch, Kick, Facebook, Bitchute, Rumble, and YouTube. Let me go over to the YouTube and Rumble chats. And let's see here. I can only make it about halfway up. I'm not leaving anybody out. If I don't mention you, I just got a lot to cover here. And honestly, I'm getting tired now because we covered a lot in about 2 hours, right? Let's see. I'll go up to Fat Bob on the YouTube. Or here's Lovely says, yeah, maybe we'll go up a little more because I keep seeing comments and people. We'll stop right here. Okay. Karen on the Rumble says, yeah, maybe not that comment. They're talking amongst themselves. Let's see. Check out some of the stories by Webster Tarpley, folks. Yeah, I have a couple Webster Tarpley books, Synthetic Terror, and another one, I think. I know I have Synthetic Terror. Yeah, Bardo said that on the Rumble. Young on YouTube, you broke the cloth coverage glass with them. Jan said Erica Kirk is a child trafficker. I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it, though, honestly, with these people, man. I'm telling you, it looks like whatever Melania is doing with children in Ukraine is sketchy as it gets, man. So, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Let's see. Yeah, talking about the people they took out. Let's see. Karen says augmented humans will be shown to the public at the whatever something Olympics games. People are assuming it's steroids and just that aren't banned for it. Yeah. Fat Bob, I might have to leave. Sam, thanks for thanking us who help. No thanks. Happy to slide a 10 spot when I can. Well, thank you again, Fat Bob. We appreciate your efforts, your research help, and your funding. Max said Christian berserkers obsess over that. Apparently, Jan, they used that to pull the kids' teeth out so they could not bite them. Damn, that's dark. Yeah, and part of fear-based, trauma-based mind control, right? Yeah, I could see that. And for other, other dark means, yeah. Because one girl bit Trump's Washington Monument, maybe. It looks like it's like that's what's going on, right? Looks like that's what's going on. Once you understand who these Epsteiners are, then it looks like that's exactly what's going on, actually. Jan. Obviously, the Panama Canal was just another coincidence. There's something about bridges. We should probably research who has a bunch of contracts to rebuild bridges, because they're blowing up a lot of bridges around the world in the last couple of weeks, month here now. Who has a contract to rebuild all these bridges that are getting blown up all over the place? Probably BlackRock, right? Let's see here. At this point, everyone's suspect. Lovely on YouTube. I agree. Fat Bob said the cradle's making the rounds, and that dude is Chinese, like the other sketchy Chinese dude. Yeah. But hey, what he said, I believe that's true. They're behind the scenes. Russia and China behind the scenes. And you see it's directly benefiting Russia here now, right? And China. I mean, we're destroying Trump, America. We're destroying our global image. If we had any political capital left that we already didn't burn, kidnap Maduro, siege on Cuba, sign off on genocide against the Palestinians, start a war with Iran. Like, we don't have much. Do Orwellian level speeches at the UN and get mocked. It's just like the Board of Peace, which we didn't even get to that reporting. Apparently, Trump and Trump family and the whole crew, the Board of Peace racket, they're going to directly, and Trump himself directly financially benefit from the Board of Peace. Maybe we'll get into some more deeper reporting on that tomorrow, but I did see those reports. It's just like, wow, thanks a lot, Trump. You burned up all our political capital. 85%, 90% of the world hates our guts now. And now you're building the domestic police state here at home, saying I'm anti-Americans for saying your guys' foreign policy is literally schizophrenic, insane, unless you're trying to burn all our political capital. And well, it's looking like they're building the region, like right here, right? It's hard to frame it because everything's mirrored, but you know what I'm saying? Right here, the map behind me, the greater North America, our responsibility and region in the one world government. The rules-based international order, the new world order is over. We're in a new era, new world order. And when you put it in that lens, then a lot of these geopolitical events start making a lot more sense. And that's what all of these governments, even Iran and America and Aardvarkland, behind the scenes are working toward that goal. We saw it during the bad times, Operation Lockstep. Marco needs to buy a new suit coat that fits him. He's not allowed to. Al on YouTube, he's not allowed to. Remember the shoes that Trump gave him were too big, and he wore shoes that were too big for him. So maybe Trump got him those outfits, and he's just too scared to wear the right size. DC is totally gay. Lovely said. I watched them come out in the 90s. We had they're doing theme night of Kristi Noem's husband's boobs. I forget the name of it, but it's pretty gay at Gay Bar in DC. And isn't it? I forget what it is. I guess that's CPAC. But a bunch of these Republican conventions, there's always the gay app. What is even the name of it? Tinder? I don't know. One of these gay apps, right? Gay dating hookup apps. They're like they always crash in this area during Republican conventions. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And then they got to play the whole game in the closet and act like a tough friggin' with a fake wife, fake girlfriend, and it's just, man, turns into leading double secret lives like we saw with Kristi Noem's husband. And it's just, man, these people are out of their mind. Obviously, blackmail, compromised, just should not be in charge of anything. They're not even in charge of their own lives, of their own selves, because of all this insanity they're doing. But obviously, they're put in these positions of perceived power for that reason, because they're controlled that way, right? Alpha Mega Energy, shout out to you, Thomas. Thank you for tuning in on the YouTube. Let's see. Lovely says everything we see is scripted. Yeah, for sure. I agree there. Fat Bob. Why did I vote for him a 33rd time? Why, I'd vote for him 33 times if I could, indeed. Fat Bob. Fat Bob says, Sam, you know Iran and Aardvarkland will turn into Mordor, yes? That looks like the plan, but we've got a ceasefire. Come on, guys. Something to be happy about until it's broken. It may be broken right now. What do they even do? They got to sign a paper that says, I promise not to shoot you. You know what I mean? Is that what they're going to do? And then the other guy turns around and shoots him and says, whatever, you broke what you said on this paper. You know what I mean? So, not looking good. Lovely on the YouTube says, a line from Sunset Boulevard. It's astonishing looking back at the brainwashing they did to our parents and grandparents' parents. Still going on alive and well today, but yeah, we just get a different flavor today, but yeah. We're all victims of MK Ultra mind control on one level or another here now. Okay, guys, a lot of comments. I love it. Thank you very much. I can't read them all, and I'm getting tired over here. Let's see if I find some new people. Lovely mind control. Yeah, cube represents mind control. Fold up your cross. You get a cube. That's good stuff. Fold up your cross, you get a cube. That's good stuff, Lovely. Denver says smart sensor decodes fatigue and stress from body signals on the move by National University of Singapore. Do you see that little drone deal they said is allegedly, I don't know, I don't believe that story now. We'll probably report on it tomorrow, but there's a little drone plane looking thing, and they're like, this intelligence spy drone could detect the down pilot's heartbeat, and that's how we found them. That's what they say. That's what some report I was reading. I was like, wow, really? I don't think I'll report on that today, but I need to look into that one a little bit further. But that's the story they're telling, is how they found that downed pilot, is this secret spy drone that can sense your heartbeat, or a human heartbeat. Let's see here. Lovely said, we knew what was going on in the 1800s. We fell asleep at the turn of the century. Mm-hmm. Well, we fought the central bank, right? Andrew Jackson. Fought the central bank. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday edition. We got good news. A ceasefire, allegedly. At least we're not blowing up the world. Was Trump's exact quote here. At least whole civilization will not die tonight, i.e. Iran, i.e. Aardvark land. So at least that's not going to happen tonight, thankfully. So maybe our prayers for peace may have worked. Our prayers, let's pray for peace. Let's pray for peace. And forget the ceasefire. We want peace, because ceasefires, as we've seen, are bogus anyway, right? We want peace. No more war. No more war. Let's pray for peace. As always, everybody do your own research. My dog's itching over here. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. And we'll be back here on Wednesday for more.